Welcome, everyone, to the No Dem Left Behind Town Hall. We are a coalition of congressional candidates running in deep red, mostly rural districts, and we are very excited to have our new national spokesperson, Richard Ojeda, hosting tonight. Richard served 24 years in the military, retiring as a U.S. Army major. He then went on to serve in the West Virginia State Senate, where he made West Virginia the 29th state to legalize medical marijuana, and his speech inspired the teachers' strike. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Richard.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that wonderful introduction. You know, as I was talking earlier with some of y'all before this thing kicked off, I've been in your shoes. In the midterms, I was actually #1 out of all 435 races in turning red votes blue, and we had a lot of tactics that we used to be able to get to that point. Unfortunately, I ran like you, running in very red and very rural districts across this country, but we were able to move the needle 34 points. And at one point, we were actually ahead until Donald Trump come down and actually started campaigning against us. And I can let you all know that, you know, you can be prepared for that. When you start picking up momentum, you can be prepared that he's going to start attacking you. But you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. That's politics. You know, the thing about it is you can't, you know, put your head down. You have to stay in the fight. So I've had an opportunity to look at your all's, you know, your campaign, some of the main things that you're talking about. But we'll get into that in a second. I think what we probably should do is let you guys go around and introduce yourself to all of the people out there that are on the panel. So what I will do is I will mute myself. I'm assuming that's what I have to do. And then first we'll start with you, Tom, and then Jamie, then Natalie, then Devin, and then Rob. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. And Tom, you can start. So
excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, Richard. Really appreciate it. So I'm Tom Palzowitz. I'm running in Wisconsin's 5th congressional district. I did run in 2018. I didn't quite close the same gap as you did, Richard, but we took a 40-point gap and we turned it into a 24-point gap. And we moved a lot of votes. Donald Trump won Wisconsin by 22,000, and we moved 24,000 votes in 2018. So there's a lot of momentum in what's happening, and the incumbent I ran against was a 40-year incumbent. Yes, he won, but he retired last September, so it is an open seat. And unfortunately, we're going to be running against our own Mitch McConnell, who is Scott Fitzgerald, who is an absolute obstructionist. And we're looking forward to a debate. We're looking forward to having a great conversation to let the people of Wisconsin know that it's time for a change. It's time to tackle climate crisis. It's time to tackle healthcare. It's time to do something about gun violence. And it's really time to put people of integrity and commitment and want to get things done in Washington. So that's why I'm running.
I'm Jamie Cheek. I'm running in Utah's 1st congressional district. We had Rob Bishop, who retired this summer. This is going to be his last year. So we actually have a Republican primary happening for the first time in 20 years, and there's 4 candidates running. So this is one of the reasons why I decided to run here in 2020. I think the universe stars aligned for us to make real change across the country, especially in these red districts that nobody says we can ever win. And not having an incumbent makes a really big difference. I'm currently in a primary myself, but hopefully we'll know the results by next week. I'm running on some of the same issues as Tom: healthcare, education, the environment. These are big ideas that matter to a lot of Americans. They matter to a lot of Utahns, and I'm willing to have the fight and have that conversation that seems like Republicans continue to run away from.
Hello, I am Natalie Klein, and I'm running in West Virginia's 1st congressional district. We just came out of our primary with 73% of the vote, so I am the nominee on the ticket for the general election. We're very excited to get to work for West Virginia and highlight the needs of the people of this district and actually fight for those needs. We're running on healthcare, veterans, teachers, and above all, we want to make sure that our children have an opportunity to stay in West Virginia when they graduate high school, because right now we're losing 45 people every single day to other states, and we don't have nearly enough people fighting to keep them here. So we're going to keep up the fight and hope to win come November.
Hi, my name is Devin Pandy. I am running in Georgia's 9th congressional district. I'm in my runoff now. I'm confident that I'm going to win that. And I'll be going up against one of two Republicans. One of them owns the largest gun store in Georgia, I believe, and the other is associated with white supremacists. So those things, coupled with the fact that people are actually starting to see the damage that President Trump and the GOP have done to this country, those things are working in the favor of the Democrats in my region to a point where I think that we actually have a chance to flip this district. We are the third reddest district in the country. The first reddest on the East Coast, we are R plus 31. And so everyone thought that it would be impossible to do. But now that things are coming to light and people are becoming more courageous than they were 6 months ago, it is a definite possibility that we can actually flip this district. And my thoughts on my run is not only for me to go to Congress and represent my district, but to get out the vote for people who don't normally vote. Get out those voters that don't normally vote, so that not only will I flip this district, but we can also get out those votes, because those votes that come out to vote for me, they will also vote for Warnock. They will also vote for John Ossoff, and so we can not only flip the 9th district, but we can also get those two Senate seats as well. So that's my focus.
How you doing? I'm Rob Anderson. Obviously, we've all spoken before. I'm running in Louisiana's 3rd congressional district. That's Southwest Louisiana. And I'm running because the working class people of my district are suffering. We are a high LNG district. We produce in our area 25% of the country's energy comes through Southwest Louisiana, Lake Charles. 60% of the shipping in the country comes down the Mississippi River through our state. There's a lot of wealth inherent in Louisiana, but it doesn't seem to reach the people of Louisiana. So we want something to change that, and that's what we're running for. Is the people aren't represented. The people don't have a living wage mandated as a minimum wage. They don't have affordable health care like the rest of the country. I mean, our problems are the rest of the country's problems. A lot of the same. The twist being we're in a red district, but mostly because that's a working class district, and the Democrats haven't had anybody to root for a little while, perhaps. And that's what we're changing this year. It's a cause we can get behind, that making people believe that if they do get out the vote, as Devin rightfully just pointed out, you got to get out the new voters, the young voters, get them excited, because Trump is polarizing. And so at the top of the ticket, we have the opportunity to get more people out to vote than we've had in many, many elections. And we think that, our rather poor working class district can actually be part of the change around the country. I think the potential is there, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay, can everybody hear me? I just unmuted myself. Okay, let me tell you, there's a lot of, first off, outstanding. I think, you guys understand what you guys are up against. Now there's, for me, my thoughts are is that I need to try to see if I can't give you all maybe some tips that you can use that can try to help you be able to, increase your lead or be able to overtake your opponent. Number one is, obviously, you want to let the voters feel comfortable that you're representing them. And I'm going to tell you what, you are not going to find Republicans that are willing to do live videos. Okay. And I do this all the time. And I'm telling you right now, You know, I can assure you, Republicans don't do live videos to talk to their constituents because they're scared to death that their constituents are going to ask them a question that they don't have an answer for. But let me tell you something. It says a lot when you do live Facebook lives, Periscope lives, and you say, look, this is me, and I want to create a two-way line of communication with each and every one of you. Because you know what? You as the constituent should have better access to me, the candidate, than lobbyists. And that right there is going to absolutely make people go, hey, they're right. You know, when I was a state senator, I used to do live from the Senate floor whenever bills were coming up that were just absolute garbage. And I actually would say, welcome to the shit show, folks. And that's how it was. You know, and a lot of people, I mean, I did a live video, I had like 6,000 people watching, you know, during the teacher strike. But once again, you're not going to see your opponent do that. Number two is when we spoke earlier, I talked about debates. You know, a lot of your opponents will be scared of you if you're willing to face the people and be open and upfront. If you don't know an answer to something, don't you dare try to you know, tap dance around and try to act like you know what you're talking about. Be honest and say, look, I don't have the answer to that question. And they're going to realize that you have a lot of integrity, and we don't see a lot of that in politics now, do we? That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. So I will tell you that live videos are absolutely crucial. But there's another thing that each and every one of y'all should be leading with when you're speaking to anybody, because each and every one of you are running for Congress. Who controls the House? The Democrats control the House. And oh, by the way, we're going to increase the Democrats' capability to continue to hold on to power in the House. Okay? Now, your opponent, if they win, they go to Washington, D.C. in the minority. And make no mistake about it, they're not going to get nothing done. Because when you're not in the majority, you don't get things done. And I know Natalie Klein's opponent is getting union support, but at the end of the day, he's still in the minority. And Natalie can go to Washington, D.C. and can actually get things done. And each and every one of you can, because you will go to Washington, D.C. in the majority. And when you're in the majority, you get to make the decisions on the purse strings and where things goes. So you're the one that actually has the ability to bring opportunities back to your area, to your constituents, to bring jobs to your areas. And you can do that because, once again, the majority. And that right there is something that each and every one of you should be hammering with every single body that you are running against. And I'm going to actually repeat this to every single body on the next two panels, because that is absolutely a winning conversation, because it's absolutely true. And anybody who knows anything about politics knows that that's how it works. So that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that you guys understand. So if anybody wants to come on here and any of you guys want to speak about that, let's do it.
I could interject. You know, we talked earlier, and I think I said this before when we were speaking, that even without getting an endorsement from the United Mine Workers or some of these other labor unions, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go to bat for them or fight for them. When I am in the House and in the majority, my office will still be their office. It's the people's office. And I will be the one who rolls out the red carpet for them. I will be the one that takes their phone call. I will be the one who fights for them on the floor instead of just trading a vote on one labor union bill for an endorsement. I'll fight for them every day, even if I don't get the endorsements. So thank you.
And let me tell you, what she said is really important too, because unions may not endorse you, but make no mistake about it, you guys are working for the people that are in the unions, not the heads of the unions. Those guys are going to go do their dope deals and in the absence of everybody else. But at the end of the day, you want to allow them to continue to have jobs. And I will tell you that, you know, just because the union doesn't endorse you doesn't mean that the members will not absolutely get behind you. So absolutely, you know, you need to make sure that you're reaching out and saying things. You know, I come from the coal fields of West Virginia. And one of my speeches, one of the things that I meant to, and I spoke about, was that I'm going to Washington, D.C. because we know that America is about ready to pull the plug on coal mining. We know it. Natural gas has overtaken it. It's an old resource. It's a dying resource. But what my fight was that before I allow anybody in Washington, D.C. to pull the plug on coal mining and put my people out of work, I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. and I'm going to fight to bring opportunities back to my area so that I can make sure that those people, when they close their mines, those miners can transition to jobs that will mirror the salaries that they made as coal miners. You don't take a person that makes $85,000 a year and send them and expect them to be happy flipping burgers. That doesn't happen. So that's the kind of things that absolutely I'm behind, and I think that each and every one of y'all understand exactly where I'm coming from here. So anybody else want to hop in here?
Yeah, I'll just point out that actually running in a red district as a Democrat, my whole plan is to represent all my constituents, not just one party. And it really is about, having to go out and listen. The guy that's been in this area for 42 years, he's known for doing town halls. Jim Sensenbrenner, he does 100 town halls a year, but no one's ever accused him of listening because he just tells people what he thinks. So the bottom line is by going and actually listening and taking that information and representing everybody, I think is one of the keys to winning in a district like this.
You are absolutely spot on. And remember, that's one of the things that I think Donald Trump has really failed miserably in. It's almost as if when Donald Trump speaks, he's the president of the United States for just the Republicans, and the Democrats are all worthless in his mind. But the truth is that when you win your seats in Washington, D.C., you go forward and you represent every single citizen in your district. And it's important to make sure that you reach out and let those people know that. Say, look, I got it. Now the primary is over with, okay? If when your primary is done, then your focus is basically looking at everybody saying, listen here, to you Republicans out there, to you independents out there, the reason why I am the best choice to move forward is because of this, this, and this. And you're absolutely right, because, I will tell you that was one of the things that I was very proud of when I would hear people say, I'm a Democrat, but I like what Richard Ojeda has to say. Because at the end of the day, the things you guys are saying make sense to anybody. So yeah, I'm glad that you said that. Real quick, I want to also kind of go back because we got Devin Pandy on here. The reason why I said that is I really like your Essential Workforce Protection Act, your thoughts on that. And the reason for that's because we already know that we are seeing the spikes up again in terms of this global pandemic. I honestly don't believe that we're going to get the next senior class all the way through before they graduate in the summer. I think what's going to happen is and we're already being told, Dr. Fauci and him have said that on the backside, we're going to see a huge spike. But what you're talking about, Devin, is something that absolutely needs to be known. And everybody on here should make a point to go to Devin's page and listen and read about what he's talking about with his Essential Workforce Protection Act. 100% COVID-19 testing, PPE for everyone who needs it, hazard pay, paid sick leave, and more things for essential workers. Every one of us, every one of your districts have the same essential workers that are going to find themselves on the front lines again when this comes back. And that Essential Workforce Protection Act is something that everybody should be talking about, going to Washington, D.C. and locking down, because that is absolutely crucial. So that is a wonderful thing, Devin, and I think you need to make sure that everywhere you go, and every one of y'all should really be talking about that with your constituents. Let me see. I'm trying to make sure I got some. I know we don't have much time. We got about 11 minutes before we go to the next panel. Let me see. Okay, obviously during the race, keep your eyes on the polling stations. We just saw what happened in Kentucky. And you guys have got to be prepared for that. If you guys are running in deep red districts. So make no mistake about it, the powers that be want to keep those districts red. And if they can do anything in their power, if they know that if they don't suppress the vote, we win. We win. And we saw what happened in Kentucky, where they closed the polling stations and people were beating on the windows, and then they finally made them open it up for another 3 hours. We got to keep that in mind. Make sure, of course, this is for you guys still in your primaries. You need to make sure that you're educating independent voters so that they know when they get to the polls that they can say, I want the Democratic ticket. Because if they don't, believe me, those polling stations will be happy to say, I'm sorry, here's a blank ballot because there's nobody running on the independent, and that's what you get. You have to make sure your people are educated. And I'll tell you this, my brother-in-law was an independent and he didn't get to vote for me in the midterms because when he got to the polling station, they handed him that and told him he had to vote it. When he went home, he called and they said they were wrong. But because he had already went and turned in his empty ballot, they would not let him go back and vote again. So once again, we got to make sure, because they are going to do everything in their power to try to trip you up. They don't want you to increase the blue seats that we have in Washington, D.C. And that's something that you guys have got to keep your eyes on the prize. So I think that's, let me see. Okay, I think we've already spoke about that. Okay, I think we're good here. So anything else? Does anybody got any questions? Let's throw them out here.
Richard, I want to jump in and say that what we're doing is we're using our primary and we're going to get people to vote like it's November, because our goal is to get everybody access to a mail-in ballot, because there's a system, there's a process you got to do and everything else. So we're going to try to create a statewide effort where we're really focused on making sure everybody understands how to get their ballot, and actually, because we need to test these small municipalities to make sure they can handle all these mail ballots. Because I don't have a lot of confidence that if we wait for November, it's going to be a smooth ride. So I was on a submarine for 4 years, and before we did anything, we absolutely drilled and drilled and drilled, and you know about drills. So it's all about, this to me is one of the most important drills we have right now. So your primaries, you should be really talking about how do you make sure that people are voting as if it's November. Don't just assume that it's a primary, but vote like it's November.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jamie.
So Utah is one of the very few states that has mail-in voting for all of our elections, actually. And so, which is funny because we are such a red state, and one of the few things that I agree with Mitt Romney on is that we should keep encouraging vote by mail because it actually works. And in 2018, in this primary, we had about 13,000 voters. And we were already on pace to just blow that number out of the water. And so I like to think that we're actually exciting Democrats who want to vote. We're also doing this weird thing. So in Utah, Democrats are an open primary, so anybody can vote for Democrats, but Republicans are a closed primary. So you have to change your affiliation to vote Republican. And so we have some really top-level Democrats encouraging a lot of Democratic voters to change their affiliation to Republican to vote in the governor's race that we have happening right now. And so we were like, no, stay here, come vote in our primary. And so I think we're on track to do well. And the other problem we're running into is there's 4 congressional seats here in Utah, and we're the only one that's in a primary. So like, anybody who's not CD1, whatever, do what you want. But please stay here if you're in CD1. So I'm really excited to see kind of what that outcome is. We should probably know next week. But right now, the system is, it's ready to go. These other states just need to look at how the system works. And really, every American should be allowed to vote from here. I think we get more informed voters. We get less of that voter suppression and pressure that happens. And you give them a month to sort of do their research and, get to make that informed decision. There's nothing that matters more to me than when somebody says, I did my research, I looked at your website, and I'm voting for you. And it's like, yes, that's a really empowering moment.
Okay, anybody? Natalie, do you have anything?
I just want to say that I think this election is going to turn out to be quite fun, especially in West Virginia. West Virginians historically, and I'm sure that this is true in other Appalachian districts across the country, where, we get so used to being told, well, this is just how it is. This is who is in power, and there's nothing that you can do to change it. But we have this history in this state of saying, oh, no, buddy, we're going to take it back. We are the reason that we have labor unions in this country. We're the ones who rose up to battle the mine bosses. We seceded from Virginia for civil rights. And then you have Richard Ojeda here, who helped inspire our teachers, who inspired this entire nation to stand up and strike for what is right for them so that they are treated fairly. So I think that this is going to be really interesting. And I know in a lot of our districts, we have a lot of highly contested races and a lot of excitement around it. And the GOP is not doing any favors for themselves right now. So I think that, adding good candidates into this mix with efficient and effective plans and getting out the vote, we can really change things. So I'm really excited, and thank you for joining us. I think this is fantastic, and I just really hope that we can continue to amplify voices for these districts that just have for far too long not had a loud enough voice.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I will tell you, don't underestimate, the power of going out there and doing face to face with people. I mean, I'm telling you, you should be reaching out to somebody in every single county in your district, and they should be absolutely putting together opportunities for you guys to go speak to people. Because, when I was running, and of course, when I won my primary, the DCCC showed up. And they were like, okay, here's the deal. We expect you to sit for 8 hours a day on a phone raising money. And I threw her ass out of my damn campaign headquarters, because the truth is that I realized that I got to go out there and speak face to face with these people. If they see you, they will remember you, and they will vote for you if they like what you had to say. And like I said, remember, your Republican opponents aren't going out there and facing all these people. They're not. I mean, they absolutely know that they're scared to do that. So, and you're not. So, Devin, you wanna hop in here?
Yes. First, I would like to say thank you for bringing up the Essential Workforce Protection Act. It is very important to me. I want to point out that up here in Hall County, not only do we have poultry factories, but we also have, or the poultry processing plants, but we also have a large community of Hispanics, and a lot of them, the reason why they are not getting treated the way that other essential industries may be getting treated is because they're Hispanic. And that's why we are focused on getting not only them, but all essential workers. But it really starts with them, because there is a huge difference between how they have been treated and how other essential workers have been treated. So that's very very close to my heart, and I'm excited about that legislation. Also, I wanted to say that Tom mentioned earlier about doing town hall, and to be honest, I can't remember the last time Doug Collins did a town hall. I can't remember the first time Doug Collins did a town hall. So I'm all about being out there, opening myself up to the people. They are surprised when they call the number back after they get a voicemail from me when I'm doing my call time, and I actually pick up the phone because that I believe that they should have a direct contact with me. I honestly believe that.
Airborne. Rob?
All right, just make sure the sound's on. I also would like to say thank you. I'm glad to have you with us. This promises to be a lot more fun. The more loudmouths, the better. One thing that we've always done since we started, and that's when you reached out to us about 6 months ago, I think, because we need to not be ashamed of being Democrats. There's no shame in it. We've been kind of pushed back because we are the party of inclusion. We are the party of diversity. We are the big umbrella party with a lot of different positions, from far left to mid left to, centrist left. And so therefore there's a lot of candidates I've seen in Louisiana who didn't quite make it. There's sort of an apologetic manner, that I'm sorry I'm a Democrat. Well, I'm proudly a Democrat. I will stand up and tell a room full of people that I stand for these principles, and that's the way it is. I also agree with you about town halls. The last town hall our incumbent held was by phone, and it was screened, and I think he took 4 or 5 calls that flattered him, and that's all he did. So we've been doing since day one through social media and in person added on as we built up steam, is everybody who reaches out to me gets an answer. It may not be the answer they want, but they're going to get an answer. They're going to get interaction. You know, I'm not hard to get a hold of, is how I say. Through Facebook, Twitter, phone numbers, you know, be responsible and be accountable to the people that you want to go to Washington to represent is my point of view. So of course I'm going to listen to them. I'm not listening to big power brokers. That's what grassroots means. Every person's opinion matters, and I'm here for it. And if they need education on an issue, try to gently do it that way too. You know, we are in deep South Louisiana. But yeah, glad to be here. These are getting more fun every time. I'm starting to wear a jacket now. I feel a little more formal, so we're good to go.
Well, I will tell you that I appreciate each and every one of y'all. I want you guys to know that I want you all to reach out to me as soon as this town hall is over with, because I want to make sure you all have my phone number. I am your resource. I am whatever you guys need. If I can do it, I'm going to make it happen for you. I want to see us increase the power that we have in the House, and you guys are the ones that are going to do that. So, you know, and don't be scared to throw out, you know, some things. When I was running, one of the things I said is I want to make lobbyists wear body cameras, because maybe if lobbyists wore body cameras, your elected officials will be less likely to sell you out. But let me tell you something, you'd be amazed. Those ideas sometimes get a lot of attention. So don't be scared to sometimes be willing to say some things that maybe you might think may be controversial. So I know that it's about time for us to switch over to the next group. So thank you all, each and every one of you guys. Once again, remember, when this is over, reach back out to me. I'm at your beck and call.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you all.
Everyone.
Do we sit here frozen face waiting for the switchover? Or?
Okay, I see a couple new folks. We may keep you on Rob for entertainment.
I'm telling you what.
Everyone. Okay, I guess this is group number 2 here. So we got Sandy. Okay, we got Adam Christensen. Okay, and Mia. How you doing? Who else? Alan. Okay, I'm trying to look here. Group 2, I believe, was Alan Ellison, Cindy. Is it Banyai?
Banyay.
Banyay. Okay. And Mia Mason, and well, Tom was in the first one, so I guess we're going to go with you 5 on this one here. So first and foremost, I don't know, did you guys have a chance to listen to the last group that I was with?
Yes.
Okay, I want to extend to you guys the same thing. When this is over with, I want you all to reach out to me. I want to be at your beck and call. You know, we need to work together, and I think a lot of good stuff come out of the first panel. But we'll go over through and we'll let everybody introduce themselves, and let's just you know, take it from there. And like I said, no question. You know, the only stupid question is a question not asked. So let's do it. We'll go ahead and start. We'll go Mia first, then we'll go Dr. Banyai. Banyai. I'm going to get it.
Get it out there.
We'll do it, and then
You
we'll
can
do
get the real Hungarian sound.
yeah. We'll do Mia, and then we'll do Aaron, and then Adam. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Mia. You were muted, Mia.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Good. All right, friends. I am Mia Mason. I'm a veteran, a friend, and an advocate of many communities out here in Maryland and Washington, D.C. I'm proud to be here with our coalition, No Dam Left Behind. We're looking for ambassadors. And honestly, Richard, thank you for being a wonderful spokesperson and staying in the fight with us.
It's what I do. I'd rather fight.
Are we rolling? All right, fantastic. I couldn't tell if that was a delay or my computer or whatever, but all right, everybody. So I'm Dr. Cindy Banier. I am candidate for Congress here in Florida Congressional District 19. I'm a mom and small business owner, health in our community. And now I'm actually fighting trolls on Twitter. I actually made state news as one of my opponents decided to call me a communist sympathizer. And frankly, I knew this day was coming. You know, I am a professor at Florida Gulf Coast University, and you just don't get to be a Democrat running and in academia and out of that without being called a communist at least once. I'm a little bit surprised that he also started a petition to get me fired from FGCU because of his false allegations against me that featured my hilarious because I and actually protest against China and communist into democratic Taiwan at the risk of deportation. But none of that matters in the Twitterverse. But so if you can already get out here and be feisty and go toe to toe with people. This was the fellow that I just saw earlier today on one of our candidate forums. I think aside from the qualifications I have of doing a ton of research in our district, in our region about what people want and need, but also being a published author on, in peer-reviewed journal articles on good governance around the world. I have the technical skills to get what needs done for but I'm also a former professional boxer. So I don't take any of this stuff that people try and throw at me all the time. And I'm tired of it. And these people keep pushing me and they're going to see. They're going to see. I posted today a photo that was in because this is how I woke up this morning, ready to go. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more, but Richard, I'm ready. I'm ready to bring energy to our group, and let me just go ahead and keep that energy up as we're working with all these great people in No Dem Left Behind to flip these districts from red to blue.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Lindsay, you're up.
So thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited to be here. This is my very first one of these. I'm the baby of the No Dem Left Behind crew. I just joined the coalition. I'm running in the 4th district of Missouri, which was held by Democrats from the 1930s until 2010. And we lost in the Tea Party wave, and I'm ready to take my home back. This is where I was born and raised. I am running, just as some background for folks. My husband is an Apache helicopter pilot in the United States Army. He deployed for his 3rd deployment 3 weeks ago. During his last deployment, he was sent to Syria to a forward location where it's very difficult for his unit to maintain a regular supply chain. So he relied upon the assistance of local Kurdish allies to help provide shelter and food for months. I was pregnant back here the entire time, and thankfully, because of that alliance, my husband came home safe and our family was whole. A few months later, when the President of the United States decided we would abandon those allies, I got my ass to work trying to bridge the civilian military gap, trying to share our family story, to let people know the importance of maintaining our alliances. And I reached out to my congresswoman, not thinking this was a partisan issue, who doesn't support the troops. Turns out I was wrong. It's a very partisan issue. And after sharing really intimate details about my family's story with her office, I was told they would call me back. They'd send me an email. I didn't get that. I didn't get so much as a form letter. And so I decided that if my congresswoman couldn't give me the time of day, that I would just take her job. And so here we are. And the day after I launched my campaign, her office called to apologize. But you shouldn't have to run for Congress to hear from your congresswoman. So she can, think about that, learn a life lesson, and go to retirement in January. That's pretty much how I feel. I'm really excited to take my home back, and I'm really excited to be the very first spouse of an active duty military member in Congress ever. It has been thought that laws prohibited that, and so military spouses often don't run for office, but we're going to do that. We're going to give military families a voice in Congress, and I'm excited to do that and to be here with you all and to learn from all of you, because you're all running such amazing races, and thank you for having me.
Well, let me quickly say to you you know, you're not the only person that that member of Congress has ignored. I can guarantee you that. And everywhere you go, you should be highlighting that, because I can assure you that every crowd that you stand in front of, there will be people in that crowd who have tried to reach out and have gotten nothing. Okay. So, and here's something else that you need to know. You come from a state that was Democrat all the way to literally 10 years ago, right? Well, let me tell you something. What you have to honestly say is, do you want to know how come the Democrats lost in Missouri 10 years ago? You want to know why that it become Republicans? Because those Democrats sucked. That's a fact. They probably were Democrats that were all about themselves. Okay? That's a fact. That's why they lose seats. People get in there, they get comfortable, and all they do is want to focus on what benefits them and not their constituents, and that's why they lose. Now it's time for us to take back the state of Missouri, and now we do it with people who actually are going to put the constituents first. And that needs to be your fight everywhere you go. But make no mistake about it, you're not the only person that daggone member of Congress has abandoned and ignored, and you need to highlight that everywhere you go. Tracking?
Yeah, I'm definitely not the only one she's ignored. I hear that in every room I go into. I will just say, though, that the man she replaced had been in office for 17 terms, and he was a very honorable person who refused to act dirty when she attacked him. And you know, I think karma catches up to you. So we're gonna take.
Absolutely. Okay, Alan, let's see what you got, brother.
Adam or Alan?
Alan, you.
Well, my name's Alan Ellison, and I'm running for the United States House of Representatives to represent Florida's 17th Congressional District. And I'm very happy to be here tonight with all of you, representing No Dem Left Behind, the coalition that's working very diligently to put Democrats that are running in red districts into Congress. So I just want to make sure that I put that out there. So if any one of you are looking to work with us and be a part of the coalition as an ambassador, you can visit our website at nodemleftbehind.com. I am a returning fighter in this race from 2018, where I jumped into a special election after the death of April Freeman, who was our Democratic nominee. That was 30 days before the election. Within 2 days, I ended up winning the special election against 5 other candidates. I got 52% of the vote, and then it left me 28 days to campaign against a state senator who had been campaigning for a year, raised $1 million, and I ended up getting 117,000 votes. Now, here's the tricky part. By the time I got into the race, the ballots were already printed up, so my name wasn't actually on the ballot. So we had to work very hard in the state's largest congressional district, covering 9 counties. And we were able to get a lot of Democrats out. So I got 40% of the vote in 28 days on a shoestring budget. Now I'm the returning Democratic nominee looking to unseat this incumbent who has basically shown the public that he is not for the people. In the year that he's been in office, he's actually voted against or voted no for the pandemic relief funds. He's voted no for hurricane aid relief funding twice for the state of Florida. And you know we're going to get hurricanes every year. And he's actually put a proposal on the table to dismantle the EPA. Now, we need the EPA. They have done a lot of good to protect our environment, protect our land, protect our water. And inside of Florida, we have Mosaic Mining that is literally pouring tons of waste directly into Florida's aquifer. Now, out of all the water that exists in the world, only 1% of that water is fresh drinking water. So we have to do everything that we can do to protect our nation's water sources. Now, my opponent is actually taking funds from Mosaic, and they're one of its largest contributors. I don't believe in taking funds from big polluters because whenever I'm in Congress, I want to make sure I hold them accountable. I want to make sure that there are measures in place to keep them from polluting our water source. When I think about the reason that I'm running for this office, it's very simple, and it has to do with looking out for all people. Our campaign is built on the premise of improving the quality of life for everyone, not just a special few or select groups and parties and things of that nature, but looking out for everyone. And when I look around, I realize that pretty much everybody has the same things in common in terms of what they want out of life. Everybody wants to improve their quality of life. And so that has been the ideal that the Progressive Party or the progressive side of the party has always been about. But, you know, like Rob was saying earlier, and that is we are the party that look at a lot of different issues, and oftentimes our message gets lost. And the Republicans do a very good job of making sure that our message gets lost. So I want to challenge each and every one of you out there that's listening to understand that the Democratic Party, as it is today, with the progressive agenda, is about improving the quality of life for all Americans. And what that looks like is making sure that we have access to universal health care or affordable health care system. It means that we are looking out for Americans living with disabilities. It means that we're protecting the rights of the LGBTQ community. It means that we are making sure that the criminal justice system has the reforms that it needs to make sure that people of color are safe, make sure they're not targeted, making sure that they are not handled in any kind of negative way. It means that we are making sure that disability benefits are protected, that Social Security is protected, and that we are looking at Americans as humans first instead of based on our differences. I'm the kind of person that looks at people from the strings and the threads that bind us together. I believe in building bridges. I don't believe in building walls. If you think about the only man-made structure that you can see from the moon is the Great Wall of China. It took 100 years to build it, and when it was finished, they found out it didn't work. Just this week, we see the president is actually taking funding away from coronavirus testing sites. And we have a situation in this country where we are looking at the words of a president, a politician, a businessman over the word of scientists and medical professionals who understand biology and what we're dealing with this pandemic. You know, we are over 120,000 deaths in America, and it's all because we do not have competent leadership at the top. When Obama created the pandemic task force in 2015, Trump dismantled it in 2018 simply because Obama created it. 2 years later, 2020, we're not prepared. And it is sickening, and I believe that we have to band together. We have to get out. I created the 9-minute challenge. It took 9 minutes for George Floyd to lose his life. We should take 9 minutes to get registered to vote. We should take 9 minutes to go out and request a vote by mail ballot. And we should take 9 minutes that when the time comes to actually get out and vote like our life depends on it, because it does. And that's all I have to say. My name's Alan Ellison, and I approve this message.
Hey, Alan, wow. I mean, absolutely amazing. A couple things for you. Do you have is there a way for you to be able to go to the exact spot where you see this poisoning dumping in the water and things like that? Because, you know, sometimes a live video, I actually did that when I was running for state senator in this area, where I went to a place where they were literally pumping sewage into the river where everybody swims and all this stuff. But, you know, you absolutely should make sure that you go there. And in Florida, you know, I mean, the beaches, you know, if you don't, you know, protect yourself from the pollution, I mean, it could shut down people's businesses and things like that. So, and then one other question, because I know that you and Cindy are both in Florida. And now, have you guys ever thought about ways where you two, because you are probably pretty close to each other. I know there's like, I think what one of y'all is, one of you is 17th and the other is the 19th district. Do you guys have any capabilities where you guys could maybe work together to help each other? That's great, but absolutely wonderful, wonderful. Everything that you said, I agree with wholeheartedly. So Adam, you're up.
Thanks, Richard. You know, I think the thing that I love the most about this group is that we're running because we don't feel like we have a choice. We have to fix things, and we have to fix things now. We're tired of being preyed on. We are tired of people taking advantage of us. We are tired of watching everyday life become harder and harder for everyone around us. You know, I'm one of those people who knows what it's like to have 68 cents in their bank account and wonder whether or not I'm going to be able to afford my rent. I am one of those people that has been on the receiving end of police brutality and has seen the inside of a private prison because somebody else targeted me. Here in Florida, especially, for most people, they're told that immigrants are the reason that they don't have a good job or they're not making enough money, when in reality, it's the corporate cartels that are killing their small businesses and making it so we don't even have a free market. And I think right now we are at a time when that's when we have to focus on. We have to focus on the same things that Teddy Roosevelt focused on in the 1890s. The fact that people that we've never met and people that don't live near us are the ones that are taking the money out of our community and it's not coming back. The fact that our family farms are being consolidated and we're losing things we built our whole entire lives around. And for me, you know, the reason I'm running is because if we don't fix things quickly, you know, Cindy's district's going to be underwater. My district is going to be beachfront property. And so for me, I think that the Democratic Party needs to go back and focus on the people that made it what it was, the people that were the poor, the powerless, the hungry, the people that needed clothes. And who were the people there that actually helped those? They were the Democrats. And I think we need to go back to being the party that inspires people and says, if you want to work, we're gonna give you a job. We're gonna make sure that you have an ability to take care of your family. You know, I'm running on the radical idea, and I think most of us are running on the radical idea that if you work 8 hours a day, you should be able to afford a home, you should be able to afford a family, and you should be able to have a decent life. And I don't think that that's very radical, to be honest. And I think, especially now, that if we're able to fix those things and show people that the Democratic Party cares whether or not they live or die, not only are we going to be able to flip these districts, but we're going to actually be able to change people's lives, which at the end of the day, that's what matters. And so for me, you know, I'd be one of the youngest people ever elected to Congress, but that doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not the people that I know will have a future, whether or not I'm able to have kids someday and whether or not they'll have a future. And so for me, I don't have a choice. I have to run because here, especially in Florida, as most people know, most people are too scared or they just won't do it. And that's one thing that I know all of us that are on this call, we're not scared of. We've been underdogs our whole life, and now it's time to start bringing it home. It's start to actually win things. And so that's kind of why I'm running. My name's Adam Christensen. I'm running for North Central Florida, District 3 to beat Ted Yoho. He's retiring, but you know, he's one of those people who doesn't think that the Civil Rights Act is constitutional. And he was one of the people that voted against making lynching a federal crime. And so for me, we have to fix that. And we have to make sure that people here know that the people that we elect actually care about them.
Well, let me tell you, that's spot on. And you know, some of the things here is when you are successful and you all win your seats, when you get to Washington, D.C., you don't, you know, you have your mission, you have your vision of what you want to see, and don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't let anybody try to tell you that you're going to do this instead. When I become a state senator in West Virginia, I had a man walk into my office that had a tattoo on his face and dreadlocks, and he said, would you like to have a conversation concerning cannabis? And I sat down with him, and we spoke about all the things that cannabis could do. And when he left, I knew that that was my mission. And everybody told me, all the Democrats even said, you're going to make a lot of enemies. This state will never do it. And I said, I don't care. And I stood up and I started lighting people up, and I started explaining how it's not just soldiers that suffer from PTSD. You show me a police officer, a firefighter that's done that job for 10 years, and I'll show you somebody who has a hard time sleeping at night. And at the end, we won and the bill passed. You can never allow anybody to come in and change your ideas. Mia, we desperately need you. We need your voice in Washington, D.C. That's a fact. There is a lot of people in this country that are counting on you, and there's a lot of people across this country that will donate to you so that we can get your voice in Washington, D.C. And make no mistake about it, we have to have you there. That's a fact. Now, something else. Each and every one of you all who are running against an opponent for your primary, be careful. Go easy. You have to win, but when it's over with, you have to understand that every single person that voted for them, you now want to get to vote for you. So if you can run your race and you can win, and it's not a nasty knockdown, drag out fight, you have to hope that that person that you're running against in your primary will be willing to endorse and then speak to their voters so that they will back you. Because once again, that's something that is absolutely crucial. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. I want you all to know that no matter what, like I said, when this is over with, I want each and every one of you all to reach back out to me. I want to give you my phone number. I want to be at your beck and call. Does not matter. You know, this is what I do. And I'm very honored to be a part of No Dim Left Behind. It allows me to continue in this fight. And I want to see each and every one of y'all successful. You know, if you can help each other, you know, like I said, this is the No Dim Left Behind family. And our job is to try to get every single one of you in Washington, D.C. And, you know, each and every one of you will have different experiences. Cindy, I honestly think that it's not bad for you to have doctor placed on your signs, because I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with somebody who's highly educated that brings a lot to the table. And you know, women in this country are at an absolute disadvantage. You know, I think that if you look at the population across the country, it's like 51% women, 49% men, but that's not what we see on the House floor. That's not what we see in the Senate. That's not what we see in any capital across this country. And it's important that we start to get more closer to the way it really is. So I want each and every one of y'all to know that I am at your beck and call, and whatever I can do, I'm going to do.
Yeah, can I just say something about that? Because it's very interesting that you said that. So in the very beginning, a lot of people like, oh, don't say, right? Because they intellectual branch that runs through America today. But I, you know, and I did. At first I was like, oh, I just better, you know, not. But then I realized, like, listen, call me stupid. Oh, what do you know? And I'm like, I don't know. I got a doctorate in it. I got a book on my shelf that I wrote. It's 300 pages. I got like 5 peer-reviewed articles about how to make governments work around the world. I don't know. I might know a thing or two. And so I just started putting it out to people trying to tell me because I'm a woman that I'm stupid. But now it's like I even went through this whole, oh, you don't deserve it. It's a fake doctorate. So I'm like, I'm dropping my dissertation. I'm dropping my certificates. I'm like, I don't care. Like, you know, you don't have this. And I got it by the time I was 30. And then the Japanese government paid me to do it, by the way, because I was such, who knew? You know, I'm just going to roll with it because that's me. And I bring that to the table. I bring the high to the go, and I can talk to academics, and I can write papers, and I can still be out on the sides, and I can be on punches. And that's what helps me to relate than me, you know, as somebody who knows what they're doing, but then is still like a person most of the time.
I think that's awesome. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's great. I think, you know, I know that Lindsay, I know that you, you know, be proud. You're a Harvard grad, you know, and I'm sure that debating is probably not an issue for you. So you need to be absolutely, and here's the thing too, if you can't get your Republican opponent to debate you, what you need to do is you need to reach out to news channels and your colleges in your areas, because if they call that person and say, we're sponsoring a debate and you don't show up, then, you know, it's going to show that you're kind of running. And that was a mistake that I had when I ran for Congress. My opponent would not debate me. She ignored me. And I found out afterwards that they said they did that because they knew that if anybody ever heard her speak, nobody would vote for her. And she's only embarrassed us in Congress. That's a fact. So don't be scared to do that. Call them out, get the local news channels, and get the colleges to sponsor the debates, and they'll come. And if they come, you guys will smoke them like a cheap cigar. So I just want to say real quick before we get off this panel, Mia, I want to hear a little bit more from you. How do you feel? Do you feel pretty confident right now? Are you feeling like you're getting the support out there, or what do you need to do? What do you need from us?
Well, we definitely need volunteers. I'll tell you that. No matter where you are in this country, I'm calling other states, I'm calling other districts, and they're like, I am not concerned about your state, your district. And I'm like, well, you don't know me. Look me up. You can Google me. It's Mia Mason. And you'll find out that I was the first transgender veteran to win a Democratic primary. I earned my combat infantry badge, and I'm here to represent us as veterans, friends, and advocates in DC, no matter where you are in the nation. I'm going up against a doctor who doesn't even care about his people. He's voted against our healthcare workers, voted against the CARES Act, voted against our HEROES Act, and I'm pretty sure today he voted against George Floyd, and tomorrow he's going to go vote against DC statehood. So he needs to get the heck out. He's been in too long, and he's violating his own term limits.
Well,
There you go.
I tell you, I love what you're saying, and I just recognize the CIB. That's what I'm talking about. Outstanding. But maybe there's a way that we could start something nationally to get people to get behind you. Because once again, like you said, you're the first one, to win a primary. Veterans should be behind you. I'm sure there's ways that we can figure out how we can get together and get people across this country. A win in your state for you is a win for every single body in this country that absolutely is struggled, is oppressed. It's important. We need you in that seat.
Exactly right, because guess what? Our state is gerrymandered just like the other states. My district is the size of 2 Delawares, and it requires a full tank of gas to get from one side to the other. And it was given to the Representative Harris that's currently in office. It says he's a doctor, but hasn't spent any time in a hospital to help us during this pandemic. I've been out there every week telling people exactly what's on their grocery stores and calling them and saying what they need and get it to them. We had other opponents who actually got COVID, and we were able to still help them out. So we can make a big difference in our community by ending this gerrymander, get people to complete their census. And the biggest thing is that we had a 23% increase in turnout because we decided to vote by mail. So I strongly encourage our governor, I strongly encourage every state to continue vote by mail. Make sure it's not an excuse so that we can actually not be like other states banging on the door till 8, 10, 11 o'clock, midnight, so that we can go vote because they want to suppress our votes. That's the actual truth. We need to end the gerrymandering, get the district changed, and make sure it happens all across our state so that they follow the rule of the land from the Supreme Court. We've seen historical victory after historical victory happen, and we're still going to fight this Confederate Civil War that they've brought up since Donald Trump divided our country when he announced office in 2015. And I'm tired of being the Jane Doe behind every little nook and cranny out there to help people and inspire them to run up against people and take the legal battle to their door. I go down to DC to lobby. I go down to Annapolis to lobby to tell people exactly why our rights are civil rights and they have to be protected. And you are human. You deserve those rights. That's why we also want to make sure that all of those 400 bills that are sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, guess what? Mr. Booker will be there to make sure that they are refreshed, and we pass them again in the House, and we make sure that our Equal Rights Amendment is passed day one, HR 1, renamed, rebranded, first thing we're going to pass for the entire United States.
That's absolutely awesome. And remember that, Mitch McConnell prides himself on being the Grim Reaper, and he's got 400 bills that are sitting on a desk to die. Let me tell you something, if you research those bills, you're going to find a lot of bills that benefit every single person. And you know what? Sometimes letting people know that if I get to the floor, I'm going to make sure that I call him out every single day on a different bill that could help people in this country. And I'm going to absolutely fight these people. That's another thing that a lot of people out there are going to go, hey, that's what I need. We need people to go to Washington, D.C. and actually fight for the people. Don't get up. And a lot of these people get up there, and let me tell you something, they change directions. It's a fact. It is an absolute fact. But remember, you know, right now, you guys aren't getting all of the great support. You know, you're not getting all the union support and things like that. You're focused on making sure you take care of those working class citizens, but make no mistake about it, I don't crawl in bed with nobody, and neither should you. So, you know, you guys are running, you know why you're running. You all have a reason why you're running. And when you win and you get up there, make no mistake about it. You know, you don't change your path for nobody. So I believe we are now, I don't know if we have another group here. I think that there's 9. Go ahead, Alan, go ahead.
You know, ever since we've been in this COVID environment, a lot of the campaigns have had to go strictly digital, and we've actually foregone a lot of our campaign contribution opportunities with campaign events and things of that nature. So I want to make sure that everyone out there understands that in order for us to reach our audience, our target audience, and get our message out, it costs money. We have to be able to boost posts on Facebook. We have to pay for stamps, envelopes, yard signs, radio ads. Some people have television ads to pay for. It is very expensive. And I want to ask that you please make a donation if you can to No Dem Left Behind so that our candidates can get their message out and represent your interests. Because too many times we have people in Congress that they're only to represent their own interests. And I believe this group of candidates will be out there and be a strong and real voice for the people.
Absolutely. And, you know, and you're absolutely right. You know, you have to raise your money. And, you know, here's another thing that might entice people to be more willing to donate to you. And that is that you guys aren't the typical poster that, you know, the Democrats normally will go for or the Republicans normally go for, but you're the people that we need in Washington, D.C. And that's one of the things that you guys need to make sure that you're letting people know. You know, yeah, you don't have the DCCC knocking on your door, but it doesn't mean that you don't have good ideas. You know, and that's one of the things that, you know, we have to continue doing, and raising money is a big part of it. And, you know, if you can't, you know, I used to hate it. I used to hate sitting on the phone all day long making phone calls. But, you know, if you're not out there walking up and down the roads, knocking on people's doors and doing things like that, then you do need to make sure that you're taking the time to, and remember, I said it to the first group, live videos. Do live videos often. Let people know that you will create a two-way line of communication with your constituents, and you will continue doing those things. You will continue doing live videos from the House floor in Washington, D.C., from your office in Washington, D.C. You will always be open for questions and answers with anybody that sends you to Washington, D.C. That's a big deal. And oh, by the way, you can also take that opportunity to say, if you can donate to my campaign, I would appreciate that you please do. So that's awesome. I don't know if we have to go to the next panel or even if there is another panel after this, but I don't know.
No, we're good to go, Rich. So this is
okay. Well, if we're coming to the end of this, I would like to ask everybody out there who is tuned into this, who plans to watch this on YouTube or anything like that, I would like to ask you if you would like to donate to our candidates. And we have amazing candidates that can win in red rural districts right here. And if you would like to also become an ambassador to No Dem Left Behind, you can go to nodemleftbehind.com to register and donate. So everybody, if you're on here, if you're watching, please, nodemleftbehind.com, donate. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.
rock us on.
Wah!
I don't have a salute.